What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Candid with Candia podcast. Today, I got another good friend of mine, Christian Benitez. Christian, what's going on, man?
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Not bad, dude.
Well, first off, I want to really, I want to thank you for coming on. I know we kind of agreed to this last minute, but it really does mean a lot to me for you to be on here, so thank you. For the way I like to start these conversations is kind of giving your credentials and what you do and your hobbies and stuff like that. So what can you kind of tell everybody about what you do? Give us a little background.
So currently I'm in a position, I'm a business development manager for a spray-on bedliner company called TOF. We work with dealerships around the country, teach them how to spray on bedliners in-house and keep all the profits. And then my little side hustle, I got a little thing going. It's a brand called Bogies and Brews. And,
Nice.
pretty much what I got going on right now.
And you sell insurance.
I do, yeah.
That's
a little bit on the side, yeah.
That's honestly I start seeing trends as I bring people on here, and a lot of the people that catch my attention, a lot of the people that I like bringing on here are hustlers, like people who just are constantly grinding, people who just always trying to get better, and strive for better. So something that really kind of peeked out to me was all of that stuff when we started conversing again. A lot of people don't know this, but you and I go way back to high school.
Yeah, I was telling my girlfriend yesterday that we even played Little League Baseball against each other growing up. And so, we've known each other for a long time.
For a very long time. And it's it's funny because I don't really have a lot of connection to a lot of people from back home. When I came out to San Antonio, I kind of started a fresh life. And nothing bad against El Paso, nothing bad against the people down there. But it was just I met amazing people out here, and it was nice, if I should say. Going to UTSA was really helpful, as far as getting my mind right. I don't know if you saw the first couple episodes, but I really talk about when I first came out here, it was rough, dude. I mean, it was rough. I missed my family. I missed my girlfriend. I missed a lot of things. And then I kind of met the group of people that I still hang out with to this day, and they really helped me. How was it when you moved out here?
It was a different time. Yeah, I was already grown. It was about 2 years ago, and already kind of had a life going, right? But man, it's been nothing but moving up until now.
Yeah.
I same thing. I left El Paso, and I truly think everybody should leave their hometown for a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And spend some time away from home and grow up a little bit and experience different cultures, different lifestyles, different people. I think that's what's molded me today to who I am, is just being around the different types of people that are from all over. I mean, I lived in California, I lived in Iowa, I lived in Colorado, 2 different places in Colorado. This is my third area of Texas I live in. I lived in New York for a little bit.
Really?
And so, yeah, just meeting the different people that you see in these different areas, man. I mean, when I moved to New York, that was a culture shock, man. I lived there.
Coming from Texas?
Yeah, and I was going to a bagel shop, and I was up at the front of the line, and I was kind of like, hey, man, what do you recommend? And he's like, man, if you're not ready, go to the back of the line. Let other people go. It's like, what the hell? You kind of...
It's real what they say.
Yeah.
I've never been in New York.
Yeah. You kind of get that oh, crap, okay. But then after being there for a year, I kind of realized man, it's just...
It's a different culture.
Yeah, it's just the way it is, man. They're not trying to be dicks or anything. They're just...
Yeah. It opens up your mind to a lot of different cultures and a lot of different personalities and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially coming from Texas, where it's for the most part, people are pretty nice and treat you with respect and stuff. Yeah. And you go out there and it's holy crap, I'm not in Texas anymore,
Yeah, no, for sure. And I respect that a lot. Growing up playing baseball, we traveled a lot. We faced a lot of discrimination, in multiple places, being little Mexican kids and playing ball. But, it really does open up your eyes to the different personalities and the different cultures out there. And it kind of gives you more of a respect from where you come from and how you were raised and stuff like that. Yeah. That's actually one thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I know your dad, and I know the way you were raised, and that's something that aligns very similar to the way I was raised, and our dads being our coaches and always on our ass, and and stuff like that. So how was what was that like?
Man, my dad was pretty strict and just wanted the best for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and just demanded that I did everything I can to be the best I can,
Yeah.
right? And if I did that, he was happy with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if he saw I was slacking or, you know, being disrespectful or anything of that nature, then obviously I got the brunt of it, right? But I kind of had a different upbringing than my siblings. Like I was the oldest at the home, oldest boy, and so I had that, you know, I don't know. You get that where they say like parents don't get less strict; they just learn how to be better parents, right,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
I
And
feel that 100%.
and so I think really at the end of the day, my parents were just figuring it out right with
Yeah.
me. But I mean, I'm here today, and I feel like they did a great job. And without my dad, man, I don't know where I'd be at this point, right?
I feel that 100%. But like no, I'm the oldest as well, and it's just me and my brother. But there were so many things growing up that I wasn't able to do. That I'd call my parents like, hey, where's Jacob at? And they'd be like, oh, he's at a party, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, you mean he didn't have to sneak out and
Yeah.
get to go to this party? Like, what's going on,
Dude.
But yeah, they kind of grow and they learn from their mistakes that they had with you. And I wouldn't say they're mistakes because at the end of the day, they tried their hardest. Like
Yeah.
they did everything in our best interest.
Or they realize that they don't have to try so hard.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
have to be so like straight and narrow and
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like. But yeah, man, I mean, same thing. Like used to have to, and my parents know today, right? Like what I used to do. I'd tell them everything at
Yeah,
this
we're
point,
older
right?
now.
Yeah.
Can't get in trouble now.
Yeah, like what are they gonna do? Kick me out or ground me?
Ground
Come on,
me?
like just go back home, dude.
Yeah.
But back in the day, we would have bonfires and stuff, and I would have to tell them I was going to a
Miss those
buddy's
days.
house or something, and little did they know, that I was in the middle of the desert, we're burning pallets, and so now it's like my siblings can kind of just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
But I think part of it too is like I started to realize that they're not doing it alone anymore,
Mhm.
right? They have older siblings that are there to guide them as well and
Show an example.
and just sometimes get on them as like, sometimes I'll be like, man, dude, what are you doing, right? And so now it's not just my parents raising them, it's like they're being raised by everybody. So
And that's one thing, I talked about it a little bit in the last episode. Like a lot of the things I've been doing recently is like writing down things that I've learned throughout the years. And one thing that kind of really stuck out to me was generational wealth. And a lot of people think of generational wealth as far as like, money being handed down to their kids and, being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. But something that really stuck out to me was the generational wealth that my family gave me. And I mean, we didn't have two nickels to rub together when we were younger, but something that they did give me was my work ethic, my discipline, like all of that stuff that I learned and I utilize today was learned from them. And that's the kind of generational wealth that I'm talking about. Like, and just like you said it, as I was growing up, and even now to this day, my brother, I mean, he's killing it out in Arizona, and it makes me so proud. But I'd like to think that a lot of that motivation that he gets, seeing these podcasts, seeing what I was doing at the dealership, like just busting my ass day in and day out, I want him to be able to see that and be like, that's what I want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's kind of falls on the responsibility of being an older sibling.
yeah,
For
sure. And I feel like we kind of almost put that pressure on ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a way, because it's not like anybody expects that from you,
Mm-hmm.
but I expect that from myself.
100%.
Like I try to create a example that, like, I by no means am I perfect, but I try to create an example that it's like, hey, like I look up to my older brother, and I want to be like that, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because when you think about my siblings, right, and I think about my siblings, a lot of times when it comes to like money or business or anything that has to do with like stuff around that realm, right? Not just money, but anything like that. Like, my siblings will come to me.
Yeah.
and it makes me think, like, do I ever go to my parents about that? Right. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I know that they know that they can come to me, and they'll come to me and get advice on, like, hey, what should I do? I just got X amount of dollars. Should I do it? Should I do this? Should I buy this? Should I, you know, or hey, I got this, marketing gig at UTEP, and I feel like I'm faking it. My sister just told me, right? She's joining, like, the marketing team at UTEP, and she's like, man, I feel like I'm just like, these guys are all so much better than me. And I said, do you realize that they saw your stuff and realized that they need you on their team? And you don't have any training. You've taught yourself how to do all that. And she's just like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And there's those little things where, as an older sibling, like, bring that, I guess, wisdom, if you want to call it, and kind of talk them into doing something better or not doing something, right?
Yeah. Not doing something stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Or not doing something.
But, that's crazy, because I feel the same exact way. Like, I feel that there's so much wisdom I have, to share with my brother, that I'm kind of inclined to share with my brother. But as we grow older, there's stuff that he teaches me too. Like,
100%.
I never would have thought, my younger brother would be teaching me, like, I don't know if you remember Jacob.
Yeah,
but
for sure. I can see his face, but I don't know what his face looks like now. But
no, dude, he looks the same.
Yeah.
Well, in his face, at least, because that's the story I was going to get into. Growing up his whole life, he was scrawny. I mean, completely opposite of me. I was always, like, a hefty, big guy. And this kid, would, and I don't want to give too much of his information out here, because, if he's on the podcast, and then we'll be candid about him, right? But he's not on here. But, he was bullied. And I remember one day he woke up and he just decided, like, nah, like, I'm going to put on weight. Dude, this guy is on his way to weightlifting competitions.
Damn.
Like, yeah. And he set his mind to something, and he just went with it. And it's to the point now where, we have a group text, and he's always posting his pictures. He's always doing this. He's always doing that. And it's so inspiring to see him have a goal, know where he's going, and knowing how to get there. And, I don't know if I taught him the dedication. I don't know if I taught him all of that. I know when it comes to business, he just got promoted again. Like, he's doing really well out in Arizona as far as, like, his company goes. I'd be like, yeah, that was me. Like, a little bit. But as far as, like, the weightlifting stuff, I can't take credit for that, man. Like, he hits it. He hits it hard, and that's something that inspires me as a bigger brother. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, I can't have him outlift me.
Dude, that's why I told him. I told him a couple weeks ago. I was like, bro, I just hit 60s on dumbbells, bench press, and I'm coming for you. Yeah. And he's like, all right, like, let's go. Like, there's always a competition between us two, but
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, but he's doing really well. But yeah, I mean, I kind of want to transition a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
So I guess it's more than a podcast, right? I want to do a podcast because I think it'd be fun, and it's kind of a overall brand, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, I mean, you got podcasts, you got your social medias, you got
getting ideas by the
clothing, you got I got a membership, right, that I'm trying to run. I'm gonna do tournaments. So it's all like just an overall brand, right? Mm-hmm. And the podcast is just one way to create brand awareness.
Gotcha.
And but it's called Bogies and Brews Golf Club, and so part of the podcast is pretty much showing people the golf course, kind of rating the golf course. I'm gonna have episodes of kind of like this, right, interview style, where you're sitting down on the cart talking, bullshitting, doing whatever,
Yeah.
And trying to catch some raw footage of that, and then just like, hey, come golf a couple holes with me and see how, like, good or bad I do, right? Mainly bad.
Being candid out here.
Mainly bad, but so that's the podcast, and then I'm gonna have a blog as well. Nice. Where I'm gonna write about the courses we play, the experience and people I've met, and whatever that looks like, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm gonna be dropping in about a week our first pre-order for. I created 4 different polos.
I saw a couple pictures. Those look nice, man.
I got 2 koozies that are magnetic to the golf cart.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
And then a divot tool with a ball marker, some tees.
Nice.
What else? I think there's one more, but I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
Yeah.
So
that's a lot of merch.
Just merch, right? And then we're gonna have tournaments. Like I kind of broke the country into 10 different regions, and so 10 tournaments a year. And then
so it's not just gonna be in San Antonio, not just Texas. Like it's gonna be everywhere.
No, yeah. I mean that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
That's the plan is to be like nationwide, at some point worldwide. And yeah, there's not 10 different regions where we'll have a tournament in every region, right, throughout the year. Early in the year, it'll be warmer climates, right, and then at the end of the year, at the end of the of the tournament season, so if you call it that, the top 3 teams of each tournament, and it's gonna be scramble tournaments, right?
Nice. I need that.
Yeah, everybody does, man. But so every year in October, we'll run our national tournament with the top 3 teams. They get invited because they were the best teams, and we'll play an annual tournament. The winner is like the Bogies and Brews champion, right?
Yeah.
Bogies and Brews champion, right? And so that's kind of what the goal is on the tournament side. And then as far as members, want to create a membership that's kind of like a traveling golf membership, where, hey, you pay a certain amount of money, right? And this is going to be like kind of a long-term play because I got to get courses on board. But you get to go to these courses and pay cart fee only, and or whatever we negotiate with the course, right? A discounted rate, because some of them might not be willing to do cart fee only.
Yeah.
Certain things like that. And because you're a Bogies and Brews golf club member, you have access to these courses at special rates,
Yeah.
And typically the way it works is it's like 2 times a month you get access to that course for that rate. And then after that, it's going to be discounted, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what we're going for. And so it's just an overall brand, right? And I'm working on the website right now, trying to get that fully going. And yeah, we're just having fun with it, man.
And that's good. That's really important. Like, I mean, same thing with the podcast when we started this. Is if you're not having fun, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a waste of time. But I mean, I know you love golf, but what got you starting to get this in motion? Like how did that come up?
Man, it was actually 2019, 2020 that I was thinking about it. I had a little bit of time on my hands during like the COVID time, and I was just thinking about it. I was golfing a lot, meeting a lot of cool people on the course, realizing how like, man, like I wish I had footage of this, right? Like if I had footage of this, like this is cool stuff. Like there's a lot of funny stuff that happens on golf courses. I mean, I had a golf tournament, and I was with a customer of mine in the golf cart, and he was trying to pick up his ball on the way, and he leaned over, and I like realized he was gonna miss it, so I hit the brakes, and he flew out of the cart, right? And he flew out of the cart with his hand up like this, beer in his hand still.
Did the beer drop?
No, he rolled over.
That's
he
all
was
that
like
matters.
that, and I was like, dude, at least you didn't drop your beer. And he's like, but you just almost killed me. And I was just like, my bad. He's a customer of mine, right?
That's awesome.
And I'm just like, I'm sorry, dude. And like, if I had footage of that, man, it would have been so funny.
Yeah.
And mainly for myself, like, if we blow up, we blow up. I mean, that's badass. But I really just want that footage for myself, because I started running into some cool people on the course, and I realized, man, I want to create a brand.
Yeah.
And that brand has like, I was coming up with the perfect name, perfect logo, and it started as like OTM golf, which is like on the move golf, and then it went to tag golf, which is like traveling golf, or that's a gimme, right? TAG. And then I finally was like Bogies and Brews, and I created this badass logo. Well, at least I think it's badass, and like I finally came out to the exact brand that I wanted, because I wanted a kind of like Nike, how they have the swoosh, right? But then they also have the Nike, like the Nike with the swoosh.
Yeah.
So I wanted something that I can have a logo and a brand logo.
Yeah.
Like, so where it could be simple, but also like our full logo,
Yeah.
right? And I found
That makes
it.
sense.
I found it. And so you've seen my logo.
Yeah, it looks good.
And there's the circle with the BB in it, and it's got the look, right? that's the full logo, and then the BB part, take it out, and that's the brand logo, right?
Gotcha.
And so I came up with that, and I sat on it for I created a whole business model, and I sat on it for probably about 3 years, and was kind of just like, how am I going to do this? I was constantly thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally went from thinking about it to, let's just freaking do it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I woke up overnight and was just like, I'm just going to go all in and just freaking do it. And at the end of the day, it's not the first thing I've tried. It's not the first business I've tried. And if it doesn't work, I'll at least learn a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and make a little bit of money doing it. And
That's the main aspect, man. Like really, in a lot of the things I can relate to are the podcast. I talk about it a lot, but we're on here, right? But everywhere I go, I'm constantly, thinking the same way. It's like, you know what? No matter what happens, I'm going to give it my all with this podcast, but I'm going to learn from it. There's certain things that I'm going to do that aren't going to work, and there's certain things that I am going to do that are going to work. And it's kind of like what I was telling you before when we started, but it's kind of the same thing. Is just as long as you don't stop, right? I've learned that consistency is so crucial when doing something that you truly care about.
Yeah.
There's going to be times, and I text Brandon the other day and I said, look, we kind of took a little step back. As long as we don't stop, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay with the step back as long as that step back is going to move to pushing forward. And that's the hard part, man. I mean, everybody's got a dream. I don't dream. I have goals. Like, this is, I set standards for myself. At the end of the year, I'm going to do this. At the end of the year, I'm going to do that. Like, that all kind of coincides together with, kind of like what you're saying, or anything. It doesn't have to be a podcast. It could be any business that you're trying to start, any hustle, side hustle that you're trying to do, like anything really that you put your mind to. Consistency is the key. Yeah. And I've learned that, especially with this, or in the car business, there's it kind of all kind of goes together. But I mean, I respect that. I really do. I like the idea. I know a lot of people that like golf will really like that idea. It's different too.
Yeah. And when you say consistency, I mean, it's not just business. I mean, it's going to be in life in general, like with your spouse, your friends, your parents, your kids. Like, when you're consistent, people know what to expect. People know how to,
Mm-hmm.
how to live around you, right? Yeah. And you're respected a little bit better too, right?
Yeah.
And you have, you're going in the right direction, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, right?
Yeah.
And so the consistency is important in everything you do.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with taking that step back, like you said. Like, sometimes you got to take a couple steps back, and I got to take my own advice sometimes, because I'm struggling with something like that right now. But sometimes you got to just take a couple steps back to set yourself up for the next 10 years, 20 years.
And it all kind of, once again, it all kind of comes around, because like, and it's not always ups, right? Like, there's going to be downs. Like, I knew when we were creating the podcast, I knew there was going to be times where I was like, you know what, I'm not sure if this is worth it, but it all kind of, I've learned, and I say this a lot, because normally the stuff that I repeat a lot throughout the episodes and my clips and stuff like that is because I truly mean it. Like, I truly believe it to be so. I'm such a huge believer that when things get really, really hard, the harder they get, the closer you are to like going over the edge. And, that might be spiritual or religion based or anything, but there's something that's trying to prevent you from getting to that next step.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that, man. I mean, if you just stay with the negative, right, and you just let it fold you, and you can't just learn to take that step back and then move forward a little bit, then yeah, it's going to continue to prevent you from doing anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of how it goes with just about anything. I mean, because business is hard. Being a dad is hard. Being a spouse is hard. Like, being a kid is hard. Like, it's all kind of hard, right?
Like, nothing worth having is easy.
Yeah,
right.
Like, it's all difficult, but it's not always difficult. Like, there's beautiful moments and fun moments and exciting moments where you don't realize that you forget about the difficult parts, right? But if you just allow yourself to stay in I mean, I'm reading a book right now called Chop Wood, Carry Water, and it's about a guy who wants to go to, I believe, Japan to become a archer samurai. And he goes to Japan, and his brother actually they were supposed to do this together, but his brother gets hurt in some kind of accident and he's paralyzed for the rest of his life. And so he goes alone, and his sensei, right, has them do nothing but chop wood and carry water every single day forever, like for their whole time they're there. Mm-hmm. And he gets a little frustrated. He's like, man, how am I ever going to be an archer samurai if all we're going to do is chop wood and carry water? Well, they chop wood and carry water because there is no heat or electricity, right? So they use the wood to create fire, to have light and heat, right? And then there's no running water, so they go get the water and bring it back so that they could have water for their little, wherever they stay, right? Mm-hmm. And so he gets frustrated because it's like, man, if all we're doing is chopping wood and carrying water, then how are we ever going to become like archer master samurais, right? And so he's constantly questioning the methods of the sensei, right? And he's like, sensei, what if we don't chop wood and carry water every day, we can focus more on shooting the bow and doing this and doing that. And he's like, how long would it take to become a master samurai or archer samurai if we took that out? And he's like, 20 years. And he goes, really? Are you serious? And he goes, and I mean, if we keep doing what we're doing, how long is it going to take us? So 20 years is a long time. It's going to take us much longer. And he's like, it'll take you 10 years if you keep doing it this way. And you focus on and so moral of the story is the book is talking about focusing on the process, not thinking about the end, right? Not thinking about how important, or like not making the forefront of everything be the end picture, right? Yeah. Like I shared with you earlier, my ideas of what the whole brand is supposed to look like in the future. Don't know if that's going to be what it is. Yeah. Like it might transition into just a podcast. It might transition to anything, right? But if I focus on that stuff so much, I won't do the things every day that count, right? Mm-hmm. Creating content every day, working on the website every day, posting every day, doing little things, right? Talking to my manufacturers in China to get the freaking stuff in every day, right? Those are the little things that will add up to that big thing eventually. But if I'm so fixated on the end, right,
you're gonna miss everything.
You're gonna lose out on the process. Yeah, like that's the best part about it.
And the process is the best part of it, right? And I guess the best way I can relate it to is like winning the lottery, right? You see a lot of people that come from nothing, they win the lottery, and in 2 years they go back to being broke. You find someone who came from nothing, busted his ass, made it to where he's at now, making millions, billions of dollars, and they're 1,000 times more successful because of the process alone. Like that's the reason why they're there where they're at.
100%.
And no, I need to get a copy of that book because that's something that's truly inspiring to me.
Yeah, it's an awesome book, man, and I'm loving it. And I got the rest of my team to start reading it, so we're gonna do like a little book club every other Thursday.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, and so we're gonna on our conference call we're gonna read a book and then talk about it in our conference call after our sales training conference call. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I'm excited about that because it's gonna force me to read more because I read a lot in the past and I've slowly read a little bit less lately. So like I have to read more because like I got these guys on board with reading with me, right? So, yeah. But it's all about the process, man. I mean, yeah. if you touching on what you said about winning the lottery, right? There's a show called Undercover Billionaire. Have you ever watched it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen it.
I mean, dude, that's exactly what it is. These guys weren't handed money. These guys made money. Mm-hmm. They found a way to make money. They learned how to, and they know how to make money. So they get dropped in a city randomly, right? With no contacts, nothing but a phone with no contacts and a car and $100. Mm-hmm. And they got to figure out how to survive, get money, create a business that's worth $1 million in 90 days. And they literally go and hustle, find old tires and sell it, do this, flip a freaking car. Just they know how to do it, dude. And it's they got nothing special, man. I mean, especially in the show. Like, I mean, it's a show, yes, I get it, but like,
it's
they're doing this. They're doing the process.
Exactly.
They're freaking doing it. That's all that matters is they're doing it. They're just getting stuff done.
Bradley, do you know who Bradley is?
Isn't that the main guy?
No. I don't think he's a part of that show.
Oh.
But he has his podcast. He's a motivational speaker, sales coach, just a badass all around guy. But one thing that he said a while back that really stuck out to me in one of his episodes of the podcast, he was asking someone, or he was kind of talking about taking the risk of starting a career or starting a business and stuff like that, and a lot of the people say that the reason they don't do it is because of being scared, right? Not necessarily of the process, but what happens if you do all of this stuff and then you lose it all, right? So he asks the question, what's the worst thing that can happen? Let's say with Bogies and Brews. What's the worst thing that can happen with you?
Spend money and not make it back. I mean,
a lot of people answer that.
That's it.
The way he describes it is the worst thing that can happen to you is you can die.
Yeah, well, you said with Bogies and Brews, but
I'm just saying, yeah, and you're right. You're 100% right.
But that first thing that came into my mind was death.
Yeah, and
because you said, what's the worst thing that can happen, right?
Yeah.
To you, right? So
he brings up, and I don't. You've probably heard this question before too, but he's the one. This is the first person I've heard ask this question. If I gave you $10 million right now, would you be happy?
I've heard this. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
of course,
if I told you couldn't wake up tomorrow, would you still take the $10 million?
Hell no.
Right? So your opportunity to wake up tomorrow is worth more than $10 million. So why not start acting like it?
Yeah.
And that's something that stuck out to me is trusting the process. The worst thing that can happen with this podcast, starting a business, getting into real estate, burning my ships, like the worst thing that could possibly happen to me is that I die. That's not going to happen, right? I've come from nothing, so going back to nothing is not going to be really hard.
Not that hard, yeah.
Because I know how to make money. I know how to be successful. I know how to get myself out of that situation. I've done it once before. Now all I got to do is replicate it. Kind of goes back to that show that you're talking about is the exact same thing. Yeah. Like you have 90 days to make the money. Figure it out. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people who don't come from anything do one of two things. I always say you have two options in this world. You can stand up and kick ass and fight back and do everything that you need to do to get where you want to be, or you can sit in your comfort and never be anything in this world. Which one are you going to choose?
Yeah.
And that's something that it just sticks out to me so much, man, as we get older and as we learn, as we get wiser and we start hearing these things from other people, it's so inspiring to know that the people that I hang out with, have very similar mentalities. Like that's something that really has always stuck out with me.
It's funny because you hear it all the time. I mean, growing up, my grandma used to say it all the time because my cousin didn't hang out with the best people, right? And
I don't think any of us did.
Yeah, you're pretty cool, man. We hung
out.
Well,
now we're older.
Yeah. Nah, everybody's shitheads when we're little, man. But
yeah.
But he did hang out with some of the worst of them, right? And now they're probably doing all right. But since then, separated himself from them and stuff. And he's going to be a chiropractor now. And he's hanging out with nothing but people that are going to be chiropractors at this point, or chiropractors, or, just successful people. So his mindset, his lifestyle, everything's just changing. Mm-hmm. The way he talks to people, the way he, I talked to him just the other day, and it's like, man, like this guy's so much different now than he was before. And my grandma used to say all the time, like, you got to stop hanging out with those guys, man. You are who you surround yourself with. And it's so true. I mean, if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you're going to be the sixth, mm-hmm. right? Like, the people who you surround yourself with is who you become.
Birds of a feather flock together, man.
Always. And I emphasize this to my cousin so that, at some point he doesn't like turn back to people like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's easy to.
I'm not going to judge them, and there's nothing against them. They choose their life how they want to, but I tell them, like, look, man, like, you're hanging around with the right people right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you're becoming that person. You're hanging out with the right people, and it's so true. Grandma used to tell us all the time, like, who you become who you surround yourself with, and you could see him like just bettering himself overall, and so like just stick with that, man. Yeah. Stay around those people, because they just and if they're, and for the most part, like, people in this world are pretty great, and you hang out with people like that, they're gonna bring you along, man. They're gonna teach you and guide you and, you know, respect you, and they're not going to just be like, screw you, man, I got my stuff, you know.
For a majority, a majority of people in that position are going to bring you along. So you're going to run into assholes everywhere. Like, there's some everywhere, but a majority of people in this world are good people and have good tendencies. And I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to touch up on, is when you get to that position, now it's your duty to bring those people that have been alongside you the whole time, to bring them with you. And never stop trying to get better, right? Never stop trying to. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If I'm the smartest, hardest working individual in the room, I'm in the wrong room. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that's always stuck out to me.
And it's one of those things too. Like, I think about that sometimes. I'm sitting there like, am I the smartest, hardest working guy in this room? Right? Like, am I doing the most in this room? And I realize, like, when you're surrounded by those kinds of people, they're probably thinking the same thing. And they're like, holy crap, I got to be better, because no, I'm not. That guy next to me is doing better, right? But in all reality, you're probably at the same level. But
the way both of you guys are thinking is like,
you're probably at the same level, or like one day he's probably better, but this guy, you know, like, and so it kind of makes me think, like, okay, that means you're surrounded by the right people, right?
100%.
Like, you know that guy can outwork you if you slack, right?
Saw a TikTok the other day, and it kind of, relates to this a little bit, as far as like the mentality that we have of ourselves. And it's talking about the way the guy was worded. It was like, have you ever been in that position where, your loved ones, your kids, like, everybody around you is telling you how proud they are of you, how they can tell you've been hustling, how you've just been busting your ass day in, day out, doing all of that stuff. And then you get home, you lay down, and you alone feel like you're not doing enough. Like, that's hard. It's really hard to be like, everybody's telling you, I'm so proud of you. You're busting ass. It's happening right now with real estate. Like, I'm zooming through these classes, and everybody's telling me, like, dude, go get it. Like, you're doing awesome. And I come home and I lay down and I'm like, I'm not doing enough. Like, that's hard. That's really hard, because it's hard to put into words, but I think we are our own worst critics.
Oh, I think you should be.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where, like, you got to be careful with that too, right? Like, don't put yourself to the point where you don't want to continue anymore, but never settle for comfort. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference between being a critic of yourself, and there's a difference between, always talking down to yourself. I
as long as it's constructive.
That's a really good example, because you should always want to strive to get better. Like, I don't know of any person who's made $1 million, $1 billion company that's like, all right, like, we got the money and we're good. I'm just
gonna chill.
Yeah, I'm just gonna chill. Like, I've never met anybody like that, especially in the car business, especially in sales. Like, you don't know people like that. Those people are hustlers. Like, all right, we got here. What's the next step? And that's kind of how, like, I try to create everything around in my lifestyle. And those are the people that I like hanging out with.
For sure. I think at the end of the day, when there's when you're your own worst critic, right? Let me take a step back. When you are being told, like, you're doing a good job by all these people, right? They're just being supportive, right? They may not even know if you're doing a good job, right? Like, they don't know enough about the scenario or what. They just know what you show, right? On the surface level. But they're just being supportive, like, I guess the best people around you would be, right? But the brain's a powerful thing. Like, you can talk yourself out of doing anything. You can be too negative, right? And I like what you said, like, you got to be careful with that. But at the same time, like, you just have to be real with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand, like, hey, am I doing the best I can right now? Can I do more? If I'm not doing the best I can right now, why?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you critique yourself based off that, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing the best you can, then you say, yeah, I'm not doing enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? But then you better wake up tomorrow and do better,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's kind of how I see it, right? Because you got to be careful with that, but at the same time, like, if you have a very good relationship with yourself, like, you should be able to not spiral into that where it's too much, right?
Yeah, and that all goes back to preparing yourself mentally, like having a great mindset. And I said it last time, and I really do truly believe this. Everything, no matter what you set your mind to do, it all revolves around a great mindset. And you can easily fall into that trap of talking yourself out of certain situations, like out of progressing and out of getting better and out of, trying to strive for greatness. You can easily do that. But when you have a strong mindset and you've trained yourself for years, it doesn't go that way in your head.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when you tell yourself, you know what, I slacked today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be better. Like, my number one competitor, the person I compete with the most, is myself.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, like, if I did 2 chapters of studying today, I'm going to do 3 tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
And it's just, if I do anything with a podcast, or no matter what it is, I'm always just trying to get better each and every single day. But that doesn't come overnight.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't always like this. I didn't always have this mindset. There was times where it was rough. It would, I would talk myself out of everything. But after years of practicing and dedicating myself to getting that mindset, now it comes easier.
I'll tell you what, man, known you for a while, and being, like, knowing I'm gonna name 2 different people, or it's the same person, but knowing Bobby, right, that I played with at Montwood, and how you carried yourself then versus Robert, who you are now, and how you carry yourself is a completely different person.
Yeah.
Completely different person. And it's badass to see.
Thank you.
Because you've grown, and you're a lot more confident now, and a lot more, like, just knowing what you're doing and not second guessing yourself and just getting after it. And when you told me about this podcast, man, I was just so freaking excited for you. I was like, hell yeah, that's gonna be so cool, right? Because, like, you're just doing it. You're doing things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's all that really matters. And when you do what you say you're gonna do, that just adds to your confidence. That adds to who you are. And it's really cool. Just to see the progression from who you were to who you are now. We all have that, right? We've all changed since then.
Of course.
And I'm a different person.
I was going to say the same thing for you.
Surface
man.
level, we're the same people. Just our upbringing and how we treat people and different things like that. But at this point, we're when it comes to the deep stuff, right? Different.
Yeah.
Compared, everybody has grown and changed,
and everybody's journey is different.
Yep.
I mean, we got to wrap it up, but it all goes back to, you don't know what the other person's been through. You don't understand what they're going through, and just treating people with love and respect.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. JJ talked about it last time. He knew me when I was going through the darkest part of my time, and he had no idea. He had just found out when I came out with this podcast.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. There was only a few people that I told, a few people that I trusted with the stuff that I went through and the mental health issues that I had, and it was rough. But being able to get myself out of that situation, you're 100% right. And you're the first person to say that. I actually just talked about this the other day. Before the car business, you can tell my friends before the car business and after the car business, because before the car business, everybody calls me Bobby.
Yeah.
After the car business, everybody calls me Robert.
Yeah.
And
I said to my girlfriend yesterday.
Yeah, it's weird. There are some times where these people will be watching the podcast and be like, Bobby, and I'm like, yeah, but you're the first person to say that, and I really do thank you for saying that, because I never put it into that perspective. when I joined the car business, it changed my life. And so it didn't happen overnight, but it got my ass into gear. Like, dude, I gotta do something. Like, college was fun. It was great. Got my degree, but like now I gotta do something. I gotta change myself. And then once I change myself and get to that better, I gotta need to bring people with me. Like,
and the car business isn't easy, man. Like, you could have folded and you could have just like never changed, right? But you stuck to the process. Going back to you stuck to the process, and you believed in yourself, and you kept going, and you changed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for the better, for the worse, whatever that looks like, right? Only that's it's subjective, really, at the end of the day. Like, but you've grown into the person you are today, and it's funny because, like I said, I had that conversation with my girlfriend last night. I was like, I've known him as Bobby, and I'm trying to get used to saying Robert because, like, you're not Bobby anymore. Yeah. Like, I don't see you as Bobby anymore. I see you as a different man.
Yeah.
Like a grown man that's done good things for himself and is like I barely remember Bobby at this point, right? Like,
yeah.
I know the little things that we did and hung out and played, and but like, you're not even him anymore. So yeah. Like, that's an older guy, right? Like,
it's a different life. Man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But Christian, I really want to thank you for coming on, man. Like, this was and I feel like there's so much more.
Oh yeah,
like
we could be here for hours.
Remember, I told you when we started filming, I was like, dude, it's gonna feel like forever. But like, when we start getting into conversation, it kind of flows, and you don't want to stop talking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think our viewers would kind of fall asleep after
a while.
2 hours.
Yeah.
But no, I there's certain people that when I bring on and I talk with, that I really want to bring on for a second episode. Like, I really do thank you, and I have more to talk about and share with our viewers, man, because like a lot of these people watch our stuff to learn, and I watch our stuff to learn. There's a lot of things that I've learned from a lot of different people, but I really do want to thank you for coming on, and I really do respect that.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I looked forward to it. I'm glad you're down to have me for another episode, because I did expect it to be a little bit later in your podcast life.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to be here now, and
yeah.
You know, hopefully by the time you have me on again, we have a lot more to talk about, you know, as far as Bogies and Brews and, you know, whatever else happens, man.
100%.
And I mean, I'll spring this on you just because I want to see what your reaction is, but we're having a baby, man.
What?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So we'll get to talk about that too, man. And
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll get to talk about that and see how that's going and that journey, right?
100%.
Yeah, it'll be exciting, man.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Christian, thank you, man. Guys, remember, if you guys like the content, if you guys like the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all of our social medias. Candid with Candia podcast, TikTok, Instagram. We also have a Discord as well, so DM us if you guys want that link. Christian, where can they follow the...
everything's Bogies and Brews Golf Club. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube.
And you have a website as well?
Website, bogiesandbrewsgolfclub.com. I think that's about it.
Awesome.
We got all those, yep.
Sweet. Well, once again, thanks, man. I really do appreciate it.
For sure.
And as always, guys, I will see you later.